What's up, Visionaries? It's Cuff with the Vision Lab Podcast, and we are tremendously excited for the third annual Vision Lab Podcast Golf Classic this June 11th at 8 a.m. at the Golf Club of Dallas. Make sure you're there. We've got a ton of vendors that are going to be out there, a lot of cigars, and obviously a great game of golf. And make sure you check out the website below. It's going to be an amazing time. Hope to see you there.
I was actually gifted an old Porsche 928. And if someone has seen Risky Business, they know the car.
Wow.
And it was, when we got it, I mean, it's been in the family since 1998. When I graduated school, it wasn't running. And then it just sat in my garage. As I graduated, he gave it to me and it just sat in there. And then my grandfather passed away and I said, shit, it's too short. Yeah. So I got it running, got it going. Now it's a staple again to the family. We grew up, one kid in the front, two kids laying down in the back, rolling around like sausages, just literally laying down. So why it all makes sense from a pictorial standpoint is that car gives a certain visceral connection to the notes, to the exhaust, to the sound, to the smell, to everything. And when I was visiting Olten, Switzerland, I saw a Porsche 928 driving on the road, looked just like mine. And it was this, like seeing a celebrity it's like watching a concert. It was like, oh, this all makes sense. So I went with Pablo Richard, one of the owners of Pictorial, and I said, okay, let's make something that is like the shape of the 928. And then we've got to put a red band on it because it's guards red. And then we've got to find this specific blend we're working with. And thankfully, he's just as much of a perfectionist as I am. So he's on rendition 8 before he gets it even in the door ready to smoke.
When you look at this, right, and Dave, you kind of talked about this before we hit the record button, but when you start to extrapolate the actual definition or the meaning behind the cigar, how would you qualify or quantify what that actually is? You know what I mean?
Well, you asked that again. Just in what direction are you saying?
So if I smoke this is bold. This is, it's got whatever type of notes to it. It's chocolate because, I've got a little sweetness side to me, or it's bold and powerful because I'm aggressive and assertive. Like, what are some of the characteristics that you find yourself in that cigar?
With this particular cigar?
No,
with mine?
With yours that's coming out.
Yeah, so I love the way that you speak about it being full and having particular notes. I'm not huge on the flavor note perspective because it's so subjective. Sure. But there is an objective truth to driving a 928, which is full body. It's a full-bodied car. You hear it, you feel it, but it's still smooth, right? So you get, and you're in control, but there's little turns. There's this comfort in discomfort with that car. If you drive over a manhole cover, the thing moves this way, and you just kind of chuckle to yourself. So what I want in that cigar is to have this big, billowy, rich, fluffy, kind of cloud type of smoke.
There we go.
But inside, there's no burn on your palate. Yes. It's fresh. It's elegant. It has depth to the notes.
That's what I'm looking for.
A lot of things happening at once. And then right as soon as you think you've got it, you hit a manhole cover and you get a little, whoa, what was that? So just those little Easter eggs put in. But to get to that, you have to find the right tobacco that works with the right tobacco and ages correctly. It's what I want is to
position it correctly.
100%. 100%, because there may be a tobacco in there that we're using as the binder that just needs to be a little touch as filler. But you don't know until you know.
So I've got to ask you this because, and we'll talk about this more and more throughout the show, the premium word that I think of is detail. Before I go to Dave, you, Brandon, like, tell me, where did you get this attention to detail from? Because it seems to be like just innate in you.
I don't. Thank you for saying that in the first place. I appreciate you saying that. I think it's just being a Frakes. Yeah, I think that's pride in the family. There's a reason why I have my 2-year-old clean up after himself and have my 5-year-old and 2-year-old, when we're done, before we're going to bed, we clean up the house together. I think it's just those attention to detail elements that we were taught. And playing football, I was fortunate enough to play a little bit of college football, and that's where the real attention to detail comes to play. Is some kids are talented, but if you don't marry that talent with work, there it is.
Flame out in a heartbeat.
So for me, I appreciate you saying that. It's something that also echoes. I also have a branding and content development agency. So when we're taking product photography, if that glass is like that, not like that, it kills you in post because you can't fix it. So you have to make sure everything's tight. So I think I've just been blessed to have a good path, a good set of parents, surround myself with the right people, and ultimately just chase a passion. So it's you just have to do what people won't do.
And I'll add a piece to that. All the boys are very competitive, extremely competitive. But my wife has a level of
100%
of attention to detail that is stupid.
Yeah.
Stupid.
It's funny because I was going to ask about that too.
So whenever these guys think that they've done it, she's isn't going to kind of outdo you. She's going to embarrass her. It is unbelievable.
Yeah.
You can go to we could just have what we call a Big Frakes breakfast, but she'll have. I mean, we've done things where we've had some people over the house, and there's napkin holders that have their names laser etched into the top of a wood piece of this like holder that holds this napkin. And these people sit down and they're like, "Oh my God, that's got my name. This is just to have dinner at our house." She just, don't you think? And then she
sets the tone.
You're gonna try to beat her. Good luck.
No, it's setting up for Thanksgiving sucks ass because you set it up. It's like, oh my God, look at this. I'm looking good, right? I'm taking a picture, and she's like,
"No." And
we're gonna do it.
Hands on like you never were there.
Oh, it's
without a doubt. You get all upset. You get all worked up. You know,
like, man,
I just put all my heart and soul in it.
Exhausted all avenues, and you just came through here with a big eraser.
Yeah, and does it way better than we do. And so for us, as we get older and as we really mature into understanding what that does, is it sets the tone.
Yeah,
sets the tone for why we put the ashtrays where we put them, where we put the lighter, and how we put that. That's all stuff that I think. If I do need to give credit to one person, it's my mom.
Well, it's very interesting because as you were talking, and before we even hit, the camera to record, family's a big deal, and I want to get into that here momentarily. But I'm listening to you, and I've had the pleasure of visiting with Pop for a bit, right? As we did the walkthrough video, detail. And so when we talk with you, Brandon, like I get the same thing, and I'm like, okay, well, does that come from Pop? And then what does Mom look like? So Mom is really the first version, and you guys are the reiteration of that, like, hey, and detail.
That's fair.
I think a lot of that, we talk about experience. We want to create this amazing cigar experience. When we attend things that she does, we get an experience. It's not a meal. It's not a party. It's, we did an event here called Date Night where we just put in 8 tables and people could come in and we had food catered. So I said, let's do something. So she's like, I got it. So she goes, we have a laser etching machine. So she has Date Night with the night of the event and the couple's names laser etched on this bottle. And each one got this bottle as a gift that had all of this stuff laser etched on it. Just when you get a chance to experience one of her events, like our Derby event that's coming up this Saturday, the attention to detail at that, I think realize how it makes us feel. So it's kind of our mission to make everybody that walks in the shop have that same experience. Yeah. That to us crucial. We have a group of guys that come up from San Antonio 2-3 times a year to just hang out here for 3 or 4 days. Now that's 5.5 hours each way. They come up, they usually show up on a Thursday, they're here all day Friday, Saturday. But on Sunday morning, my wife turns this into a buffet table and makes them all breakfast before they get in their car and drive back to San Antonio. That's the stuff that they remember.
Right.
It's that. We didn't have to do that.
Right.
It's humanity.
It is.
It's community.
It is.
Right? And the things you say, yeah, cook breakfast. Well, she goes to one store for the fresh sourdough. She goes to another store for the right type of honey. She goes to, and we see that. And it's really our responsibility to pass that forward. Because I think in our world right now, we have so many things pulling us in different directions, be it from a time perspective, a cultural perspective, whatever that may be. But we have to be that community piece, right? We have to be home base for people. And if home base, if your second home is taken care of, you have that place to touch and go, okay, I'm safe here.
Yeah.
But if things are rocky at your second home, then
where do you go?
Where do you go? Where do you go? So we have to take that very seriously. Of second home might be the escape from some challenges that are at first home.
Yeah.
And if there's a couple of rocky foundations, then where's home? Then you've got all these places you go. So we have to take that very seriously. That's what our role is.
That is incredible. Like just I hate to be redundant, but like the attention to detail and even thinking about that, like you're putting yourself in the shoes of your customer. Like, Bob may have a situation outside of, or at home that he's dealing with, and he comes here to relax, rejuvenate, get back centered again, right? And you guys take that into consideration.
We do. I think because a lot of our customers are men, they go through a divorce. There's several of them that are in the midst of them now. We have a tendency to see them more often for longer periods of time. We're aware that this is their escape. If they want to talk about it, we'll talk about it. If they want to bounce something off of you or ask for some advice, that's the other part that creates this culture and this community that we've established is this individual rapport. I don't want to have a shelf with seats in it and just give you the place to have the utility of smoking a cigar.
Wow.
You do that in your backyard.
That's good.
So we'll have a place that you're going to live a big part of your life in here. Let's make it real.
That's good.
And if I can I ask you guys questions too?
Yeah, let's go.
Talk to me about what's important to you in a cigar experience. What's important to you in a second home? What do you seek outside your own house that maybe is not available inside your own house?
I think when I come to a cigar lounge, I want to feel at home. I want to feel family. I want to feel relaxed. I don't want to feel pressured, right? I want to be able to have my stick, have my drink, relax. Maybe I have my laptop out. Maybe I'm watching the game. Or I want that sense of, that next 2.5 hours to just unwind and relax and breathe. So I would encompass all that into say, I want to breathe. I just want to breathe. Just for a second. We all have busy lives. Mo and I are very fortunate. We have our hands in a number of different things. We're fathers. We're business owners. We had the podcast. We still have our 9-to-5s. You're pulled in many different directions, and that's cool, right? Like, I'm not going to shy away from that. The responsibilities and everything that goes along with it, but when do women get an opportunity to go get their hair done, their nails done, manicures, pedicures, and that type of thing? And this is my safe haven, right? Like, this is the chance that I can just woosah and relax. And I don't want the stresses of the external world, impacting my safe zone. And I think that's what you guys have done is you've created that. So that's what I'm looking for. What about you, P?
I would echo that. Safe space, if you will. And you're right. Like, anybody can just, go on their back patio or whatnot, or out in their garage, and everyone goes to sleep and just fire one up. It's the fact you guys have thought about that is again a testament to what you guys are doing here. Me personally, I don't like the word safe space, more just comfort and just ease of being. I was thinking is the phrase I would use, is ease of being. go in the humidor, pick out whatever it is I feel like smoking for the day. And then whether I'm going to sit in the back private VIP side of things, or I'm going to sit out here with everybody else, just ease, whether it's a conversation with somebody I've never met before or somebody who I see who's a regular, just ease of being.
Or just be.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I think a lot of times with the busyness of life, we don't ever have a chance to just sit and be. And you can sit and be in a public forum. Mm-hmm. I was very fortunate and blessed to go to a Christian retreat a couple of weeks ago. And one of the biggest things for me was the ability to step back and just sit by the lake. I don't have to talk to anybody. I can have my relationship with God. I can have my relationship with myself and unwind, but also figure things out, right? It's important, right? To advance and move forward. Understand exactly, where I've been and what I'm going through and where I want to go, those type of things. And so sometimes when you get to the lounge, right, like I want that space or that environment where maybe I just want to sit and chill because life is so busy, When do you ever get a chance to you got two kids, right? Three kids, wife, business owner.
2 businesses.
2 different business. Like, when does Brandon just get to be?
Saturday, 6:30 to 8:30 in the morning on my bike. And then that's a lie though, because then I get to come in here.
But you're thinking about, what I have to do next. And so as a patron, as a customer, you guys create a space in which I can just be. Mm-hmm. And I think that's absolutely cool.
But in all honesty, we get to just be with you.
Yeah.
And that's, for me, that's where I think the lie is. My time is, I get to do that, get out, move, be in the trees. Mountain biking is just, I love it. But then I get to come in here and I spend an hour a week minimum, 2 hours a week, but an hour a week on a Saturday morning smoking a cigar with my dad. We're both healthy. We're both good. Life is good. It won't always be good. But we get the reality of the world we live.
Yeah.
And we get to just be alongside you guys.
So I want to pivot directly off of that. You get a chance to work with your dad. Your brothers work here too, right? I want to go with you, Dave. Talk to me about your vision as it relates to having a business, but not just a business, but a business with your boys, your young men that you've raised. Like, family is a core tenet to ICC.
Right.
Talk about that for me.
Well, I think we were blessed. We've always been extremely close, and as the boys grew, they were all good athletes. Just always, and they've always been big as trees the whole time. They've always been bigger than everybody else, and they loved the game of football. And as a normal dad of kids that are athletes, one said, "I want to play soccer." The other said, "I want to play baseball." The other said, "I want to play football." I said, "Pick one, because I'm only taking one of you guys. Drive one part practice. Pick a sport."
Yep.
So, and that was football. They also played some basketball, but that was football. And from when Brandon was 9 years old, it was something that I decided to become a coach and start coaching these kids, and then ended up taking over a team and that had 3 separate teams and all the responsibility that comes with that. But in the end, I never lost sight of the reason that I became a coach. It wasn't to coach football. It was so I could have the best seat in the house to watch my kids play.
That's right. That's right.
So parents ruined it for me. Because parents, they call you at 11 o'clock at night, either complaining Johnny didn't play enough or he played too much, but they always got something to bitch about. So the parents really took me away from it. But we did it for 6 years and loved it. But that was just something that it connected us. My dad that raised me was not a huggy, kissy guy, but we started racing motorcycles when we were like 12 years old. So every weekend I was with him, and we were going to the races, and he'd fix our bikes, and we would race, and we'd do our thing, come home. But every weekend for the better part of 8 years, we were with him. And that was always that thing that I realized wasn't as much about how I did in the race. It was that I did good in the race, so he'd be proud. And, you know, I know that made me feel, I knew that the kids were going to adapt that concept. They've all had great success in their own chosen sports that they did once they got into high school or college. But it was great to finally let go of the reins and watch real coaches do what they do, and watch how good these guys get, watch it from the sidelines. That was a great thing for me. But overall, for us to go into business together was really a no-brainer. It was, and if you think about the dynamic of business owners that bring family members in, typically family businesses disintegrate on the third generation. The first generation was dad was working his ass off, or like my dad was working his ass off. I take over the business. I work it harder and grow it. Well, that success oftentimes spoiled the kids. The kids then take control. They just use it to milk all the cash out of it until they get a Lambo and then they leave. And they've screwed up everything in its path because at some point they became spoiled little shits.
That's right.
Well, the one thing that we did is we started this. We knew that we had this passion for cigars because I moved down here while they were all in Nebraska going to school. And when they came down during the spring break, they were out in my hot tub smoking a cigar. I didn't smoke in front of them. I was smoked on the golf course. So they kind of knew I smoked because they would.
Oh, we knew you. Yeah, I mean, we.
They went through, think about my humidor hidden at the top of my.
Yeah, but that was in rigs. I mean, that's when we were 8 years old. We knew you smoked cigars.
So they knew that I smoked. I just never did it in front of them. And then I realized that while they were at college, we were so close leading up to college. I didn't know how I was going to be a dad to adults. This gave us an adult thing to do. I don't drink, so we could sit around for 2-3 hours and have a conversation. And the conversations were like, when you walk across that stage, you're not entitled to shit. You still have to work, and you're going to have to work your ass off. And the diploma might open a door or crack it open, but it's your effort that's going to get you.
That's right.
So to have that conversation, adult to adult, it was great. And I saw how connected they were to that. And so then over time, we realized how passionate we were about this. My wife sent us to Nicaragua for 8 days. We toured factories for 8 days because we had talked about we should do this. My one son's a professional golfer. We traveled all around the country. We would go into cigar lounges. We would see dust. We would see bathrooms that looked like science experiments. We would see all these things. We thought, you know, if we did something like this, what would it be like? Well, our baseline was, I want someplace I could sit in 10 hours a day and be comfortable, have good entertainment, have clean air, and have a good experience, and have this thing that we've been able to share in our back patio. And we knew it would work. We decided to do it. And then years we spent in planning this. But what's interesting is, as much as these guys fought like cats and dogs when they were little kids, because they're only 15 months apart, the other two are twins. And they're big as houses too. So when the fight broke out, it sounded like all hell was breaking loose.
World War III was going on.
Oh my God.
It was.
But what's interesting is we started this we went to Nicaragua in 2015, got into business mode, opened in September 11th of 2017. And we've been in business ever since. And we have not had, there has not been one fight. There's not been one family fight. These guys are all professionals. They all know what their lane is. We've all formed this vision. We all are walking down a path with that vision. But these guys treat each other with employee to employee respect.
Well, it's not only that. I mean, we're not employees, right? We're owners. Right? There are 6 owners of the company. And an ownership is different than an employee. And at the end, we tailored our lives around this. Andrew was hospitality. That's what pro golf teaches you, is hospitality. Nate has a learning disability and a very unique story, and just an incredible story. But in that, he can learn everything about what he's passionate about and almost nothing about what he isn't. But he knew everything about tobacco and about cigars. We all took our lanes and ran through it. And we just have this healthy relationship because we've fought together. We've put holes in the walls and then tried to figure out how are we going to get that hole fixed before Pops gets home.
That's right. That's right.
And that's healthy for us because we just have what we call grill the beef sessions. Okay? We all get in. Okay? Everything's cool. But we're going to say it how it is. We're not going to take it personally. It's not bureaucratic. This is how it is. I understand or I disagree. And we've just learned over years. I mean, just like you, as you guys know, the people who you're closest with are the ones you've struggled with.
Sure.
Your teammates, your best friends.
People that are in the foxhole with you.
Amen. And we've been in the foxhole. And before we announced that we were going to open a business, we were kicked out of all the lounges in the area. And that's a foxhole. That's a foxhole to have everyone kick you out of their lounge because you're thinking of opening a lounge.
Oh, wow.
And that's all their own decisions, and no problem. It's their businesses. But we've struggled so long together, and we all have our own lane, like Pops was saying, of special expertise where we say, okay, at the end, I disagree, I trust you. Go with it.
Well, real quick, I've got a question for you, but before we do, let's give a big shout out to EB. Check out this commercial from Edwina Brown and Blowing Smoke Cigar Lounge.
Hey everyone, Edwina Brown here, owner-operator of Blowing Smoke Cigar Lounge. We're located at 1604 North Interstate 35E in Lancaster, Texas. We would love for you to come see us. We stand on the 3 C's, which are cigars, our community, and our culture. Cigars, we have over 300 SKUs in our humidor and it's still growing. Come check it out, a massive humidor. We also love our culture here, which we're about customer service, as well as community, which is why we're excited to partner with the Vision Lab podcast. So come check us out.
I know the dynamics. I've got brother and sister. I'm the oldest. I don't know where you fall.
Yep, I'm the oldest.
Okay. But I'm more curious what it's like to actually, what dad is like at home. You know what Pop is like, right? Or let me make the differentiation. You know what dad is like at home? Like he's my father, right? Like he's do the right thing, blah, blah, blah. But what is it like working for your pop?
Well, I don't work for him. I work with him.
With him.
Right.
Sure.
And and I think that is a big difference
well, how did that dynamic even shift or change?
I look at it this way. If my kids look at me the same way I look at my dad, I've succeeded. So it almost goes back to like on the football field, being 12, 13 years old, and he's coaching, and I have nothing but things to learn right now. So, sorry.
Yeah, that's good.
But, it's this element of I'm gonna work when he isn't looking. Because it's easy. It's easy for somebody, especially if they work for their dad, they just need enough to stay hired by their dad, right? Mm-hmm. And we have a shared purpose and we're very horizon focused. So it doesn't matter what I look like when I'm in front of him or to my brothers or to my mom or to my wife. What matters is what happens when no one's looking. And that's the time. Because if I focus there, then my expectations of him, my expectations of my brothers, of everyone involved, can be of the excellence that I expect them to expect of me. So it's more so this healthy circle of everyone feeling horizontal. There are times, now that I'm older and I've got kids and there are things that I know I can go to him for. And I think the timing of the business worked well, where we were adults. Yes, we did run through corporate shitty jobs. I did start a business. I did have a family. We did build a house. Like these things all occurred, and I always had him as a dad, and it naturally worked its way in.
But did you find yourself having to mentally transition from, yes, I'm your son, but I'm not your son right now. I'm your business partner. Like, what did that dynamic look like?
Easier than you think.
Okay, cool.
I think
easier than you think.
You know what I mean? Sitting here, being a fly on the wall. I think it's easy, and you and I have dealt with this because they are pulling in the same direction. Everyone has their individual things that they're good at and expertise, but ultimately, like they're all pushing or rowing the boat in the exact same direction. Somebody might be responsible, like I said, hospitality or tobacco or whatever it is. It's easy for everyone to, whether there's a disagreement or difference of opinion, it's easy for things to get handled and get done because ultimately we all understand we're all going in the same direction.
Exactly. And so how old are your kids?
Mine will be 4 in October.
4.
I've got a 12 and a 2.5-year-old. It'll be 3 in August.
It makes perfect sense, right? Because us parents as young kids, we're setting the foundation and we are parents right now. We set them up because once they're in even their teen years, boy, if you didn't do the work, it doesn't work. So it's much more, this is the way it's going to be. Of course, everyone has their own style. You have choices, however you guys decide to parent. But once we get to the point where we've already kind of graduated to that point, and we've dreamt of doing this, and we tailored our lives around it, Pops did a phenomenal job of just holding us to that expectation. You always run the pace of the leader, and Pops is the patriarch of the business, and he did a phenomenal job of just, okay, you're doing this, and he does a great job of punching everybody up. You'll never see him run anyone down, period, but you'll never see him run anyone down inside the team. Everything's okay, cool, but you're doing great here, but here's what I need more of. I need you more here. Okay, gotcha. So it always feels like a teamwork, and it's definitely graduated past that point. I mean, I remember being 12 years old, getting our ass kicked in Little League, and him telling a huddle full of 12-years-olds you're being a bunch of pussies, get your head out of your ass and start playing football to 12-year-olds, and that's a very valuable lesson. But we did move past that, and so making that transition, it was good because we set it up at the beginning for years before we got it going. So we're a family that would rather walk before we run, and also do it right the first time, and know that you're going to learn along the way.
It's really cool that like we're sitting in here, right? You and I have talked about like once we got rolling, like, okay, we gotta get this done. And I've seen it firsthand because I live up here, so I've been in here plenty of times before. From my perspective, right? And like I said, the whole family dynamic or whatnot. And you talked about it, seeing other shops where you're like, okay, you got that front row seat in regards to like, okay, here's what we're gonna do right when we do our own thing. This being the Vision Lab. When you guys first put pen to paper, sat down as a group and said, okay, here's what we're going to do. What was the original or initial vision that you guys kind of put in front of yourselves? And then how did it change once you actually got in it? Because we all make plans, and then you actually start the road to try to make something happen, and you're like, oh, we didn't account for that.
I'm curious your answer on that.
Smiles galore right now.
I was cleaning my this area of my office out the other day, and I pulled out some foam core pictures that when this place was under construction, we would do every Wednesday, we would do hard hat tours so people could come in while it was at frame up and things so they could watch the progress, be part of it. We had renderings of the shop, of what was our vision. And we sat, fortunately his wife is a designer, and we were able to sit and go, we want to walk into the lobby, we want to have a feel. We want to have view of the humidor. I want to be able to have a comfortable flow. I want to have a reason to go into a lounge so I feel like I'm walking into something. Some cigar lounge, you walk in the front door, you just walk through the lounge part while everybody's sizing you up as you walk back, and then you go in the humidor and you walk back up to the front counter.
Right.
You're kind of like walking through somebody's living room to get to where they're at. So it's how does it make you feel versus making an entrance? We thought about people are going to sit and work on their laptops, so let's make sure we have a bench that they can look at and still look out the window and have some movement. Comfortable seating was important. Where do we put television so people aren't doing this? All of these things. And then this mystique of this private lounge. Even the floor color here is dyed a different color as the front lounge. The front lounge is gray. These bricks are brown. The front bricks are gray. The floor is gray. We wanted them to walk into something different. And I looked at those pictures that were renderings, and it looks just like it does in here now. There's some elements that we were going to hang from the ceiling and stuff like that didn't work because it would interfere with our air purification. But in the end, it looks like our vision. And I could show you those pictures and you go, yep, that's the front where the lockers are at. Yep, nope, that's the private lounge. So I think that's where it comes into taking time. I think other businesses, they don't see a clear vision. They don't virtually walk in and experience it and build from there. And I think that they go about it, I want to open a cigar lounge. I got a couple $100,000 in my pocket. Let's go open a cigar lounge. How hard can it be? And they go in and they get this big rectangle of a building, and then they just stand in there and go, well, we can put a humidor there, and the bathrooms have to go back there. Whatever the case may be, I apologize for this.
Come on, be a pro, man.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I'm curious what you didn't expect. I'm really curious because yes, fit and finish. I think the model has shown to work.
I will tell you this. I'm a forecaster by nature, business planning.
I can speak to that myself.
And the one thing I was never a part of the model was the people we would meet. I've had the privilege to sit in this room with Cedric the Entertainer. I've had an opportunity to me and my son sit and have cigars with Montel Jordan and his son. Guys I listen to. I'm a 70s funk guy.
Montel Jordan is not 70s.
No, I understand that. But that's my rule.
So George Clinton, if you're listening, come on in. That's what we're trying to say.
George Clinton is my idol. But, we've met so many, not just from a celebrity aspect, but I've met so many interesting people and have friends that I've taken vacations with because they've come in here. Never, ever thought I would meet that many people. And I also, Brandon could probably share the story better, but we've had people that have gone through really difficult times in their lives and contemplated suicide.
Wow.
But the shop saved them. Wow. And that hasn't happened once, it's happened twice.
That makes opening up your shop, worth every penny.
It's the win of all wins.
That is a win of all wins.
Makes it easier to clean toilets, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Would you clean toilets and make sure your ashtrays are clean and your air is clean so you could save a couple lives?
Makes it easy. Never thought that would have happened.
I was at. All you're doing is I got to sell X amount of cigars, this many per week, this many per day, in order to cover my nut. That's all you think about from a business forecasting standpoint. This store sells 120,000 cigars. You think about how many people have walked through that door and lives that we have an opportunity to connect with. And I know for a fact there are people that this is their home, literally, that are here 7 days a week, every hour we're open. I know that. So if we weren't here, where would they go? So it's deeper than this.
I know you have something to say, but Pop and I was talking earlier about this, right? When it plays into the whole, and this isn't a who's better than the next type situation or question, but to me, when I walk into ICC, it's just an elevated game. I mean, like there's 90 different cigar lounges in DFW, and we're very fortunate to partner with Edwina Brown at Blowing Smoke, who deliver the same experience that you guys do, which is on the south side of the Metroplex. But what is it about the Blowing Smokes, the ICCs of the DFW area that just really sets your game apart?
It's a great question.
I think it's the difference between someone who jumps all the way in or someone who wants to break even on their hobby. I think a vast majority of cigar lounges we all have a vision of what we want to do when we retire, or maybe if I got a little bit extra. I think there's a lot of hobby shops, is what the industry calls it, and they run it like a hobby. And then there are people that take it like the Blown Smokes. I could name a number of very, very solid cigar lounges.
We had a chance to just mind meld some stuff together. She's very like-minded.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But they take it serious, and they think about they think about the patrons.
Yeah.
What's interesting is last week I had what I would call the stereotypical cigar lounge owner came in. He was from Maryland. Came in. He said, "I own a cigar lounge." I said, "Let me give you a tour." Gave him the whole thing. I asked him how long he's had a cigar lounge. He goes, "Well, here's the deal.
Yeah.
I've been going to the cigar lounge for 12 years. The owner decided he was going to retire, and he just said, 'Hey, you just take over the lease and it's yours.'" That happens all over.
Every day.
There's some guy that's a retired cop that's sitting there going, "I'm going to be here anyway." Well, you have to want to do hospitality. You have to want to have the right product on the floor. You want to have to give them a good experience. But if you were just coming up here and all of a sudden you're sitting in that chair, now you're sitting in the chair behind the counter, now you got to work. Sometimes that's not as appealing to people as you would think.
Well, then you just staff with a person that can sit behind the counter, and then you just continue to sit in the same chair. I think we've all kind of seen that type of mentality. It's unfortunate, but that's the silver lining to it is the power of the cigar is so strong that even in those lounges, you can still have genuine connection with people. You can still
They
have,
survive.
yeah.
They don't go out of business. They just survive.
Yeah, but it doesn't elevate the culture or the experience. And you know, for me, what I've heard, we spent some serious time together, right? Family, detail, and then most importantly, the customer's experience. And you know, I said before the show got started, you know, experience over economics, and you're like, well, what we believe in is passion over profits. You know, we've talked about it, but just go in a little bit more detail about what that means to you, Dave.
Well, I will say this, just something that just rang a bell in my head. I was so flattered and humbled when there was 3 manufacturer reps that all came in, and they were all talking, having a conversation. One of the reps said, and he handles the whole state of Texas, he goes, "I have 6 cigar lounges, new lounges that I'm doing business with. One is as far out as Lubbock, that open stores because they've watched us do what we do.
Wow.
Rigby's is one that's opening up in Paris is another example. And these are guys that we helped. They came down and we showed them which air purification to get. We showed them which computer systems to get. We showed them all of those things. And that was very humbling to hear that people started because of that. That right there is the attention to detail.
You spoke about how humbling it is to be able to help in any way that we can. If we can help other people not step on the landmines we've stepped on.
Right.
What else does that mean to you?
Well, I think the term, when we say passion over profit, obviously you have to make a profit to survive. But if you start a business, any business, and your primary driver is money, then you will step on landmines because money is so intriguing. And what you start daydreaming, man, if I could just hit this one, and this one out of the park, I can get that Benz. And if I can hit this one, and this one, I can get that new house. You start doing that. What happens is it accelerates your desire for the money. Where if you reverse that and you focus on passion and experience to create everything that you believe is the right thing to do, the money comes. We say passion over profit, like we're losing money every year. I'm proud to say that since the day we've opened, we've never lost $1, which is very difficult to do in a brand new startup, particularly in a crowded market like this. We've never lost money, but I've never been worried about it. And it just happens. So I think that when a business owner or people just in their everyday life, vision what you really want.
Yes.
Vision what you believe will make you happy. I guarantee you. I've been very fortunate in my life. That's come from hard work. So I've had times where I've been extremely broke, and I've had times where I'm not extremely broke. But I'm telling you, true wealth just left that door. True wealth is sitting here.
Yeah.
A man should measure himself by the quality and character of his children.
Yeah.
And everything else will come to you tenfold greater if you just create a vision. And trust me, I have a garage full of cars. I have all that shit. It doesn't mean shit.
So
because it doesn't make you happy.
I agree with you. I love exactly what you're saying, but there's going to be haters and naysayers that are out there, right? And they're going to say, "Oh, well, Dave, you've got money, and you had something to start this, Industrial Cigars Company with, blah blah blah." And what do you really know about struggling?
He didn't know in rigs,
right? So I need you to dispel.
How about I'll do that for you?
Either one, right? Like, so we understand the concept, and that was a straight up bar. It was a gym, passion over profit. Like, we get that. Care about the people. Reverse engineer it. If you focus on the people, the money will come. Don't worry about it. But you got people that are out there that have a passion, that want to succeed, and it's hard for them to shift that vision of, I know I got this great idea, but I have to make the money, right? Not everybody's sitting on a couple stacks to start a business.
Do you remember me asking you how much money you had in the bank when I was a kid? We grew up in Omaha, Nebraska. 16266 rigs. And we grew up, I thought steak was hamburger on a George Foreman grill with ketchup on it.
It is.
Right? I mean, but the reality is,
okay.
But I know in this market that there are a certain number of people that say, you're an oil guy, you drive whatever you drive, you've got this, and you got the cash to bankroll it. But what they didn't see was me. I remember asking you because I was getting really into cars, and I knew a Lamborghini cost $200,000 at that time. And I remember thinking, Pops probably has $200,000. I had no concept of money. And I asked one time, how much money is in your bank account? And you said, I don't know, maybe $1,000. And it almost, I remember, because I still had a waterbed at that time. It like shook the waterbed when I thought about it. I was like, $1,000? What is $200,000? And I didn't understand that. And I got to watch you go from 16266 rigs and work and work and work. And the only reason why we had a nice TV was because you were the top salesman, the national top salesman for Panasonic, because you were gone Monday through Friday and Grandma helped raise us. And then you came back on Friday night and you had the weekend with us. And because of that, you got spiffed out of TV. So we had a TV. I mean, we looked hood rich, right? I mean, we had all the electronics, but we had the awning out front of the house underneath the windows that was breaking because we'd step on it and it would break down. We didn't have the money to put it back up. And then we moved from that, and you worked and you worked and you worked. And that is, we got to watch where we started to where and you ultimately were able to open doors because of your experience and hard work and everything. And that's something I hope I can give to my kids, is watching starting a certain place and what it means to work. And so it hasn't always been,
it's the iceberg, right?
It's the iceberg.
People always see the tip of the iceberg, but you don't know the fucking bullshit I had to go through being away from my kids Monday through Friday, selling whatever,
for 15 years.
Yeah. I mean, that's not, anything to scoff at, right? We live in such a microwave society, and we've talked about this on the show. I just want people to understand that your vision can become a reality. You got to put in the work.
You got to eat shit popsicles, as Pop says.
Wow.
Sometimes you got to eat a shit popsicle.
And when Brandon was starting his business, nothing was happening as fast as he wanted it to. And he would always run into those cash crunches. And it's just something that I've always instilled with these guys. They all know what a shit popsicle is, or sometimes you got to eat glass. But sometimes you got to do what you got to do. You got to work harder. You got to, I've never seen anybody get wealthy by not having to. I mean, people fall into wealth, but people that truly earn it, their story to them, they didn't work hard. They just never gave up.
That's it.
And
I said, just didn't quit.
That's it.
Just didn't quit.
Didn't quit. You can't quit. And
Beauty with kids is you can't quit.
You can't.
What are you going to do? You going to die?
Yeah.
You can't die. You can't die with a 5-year-old. You can't die with a 4-year-old. They're not going to remember you.
Folding up shop is not an option.
What are you going to do?
Yeah, it's I mean, I told you I was full before we actually started or whatnot. It's cool like to actually be here and everything. As we think present day, right? Obviously, you guys have got one of the coolest shops in the entire area. Where do you kind of foresee things going? And there's a back end of that we'll get to later on, but where do you kind of foresee things going? You're a forecaster, so I'm interested to hear your answer.
Be careful.
Yeah, hey, you don't have to let a cat out the bag.
Yeah.
But
So
It's called a lewd.
that's
Yeah.
there. We have a plan that we'll now call was going to be a 2-year plan. It's going to be a 3 or 4 year plan. But with a very clear vision. And to say this vision, I don't want to say it to sound arrogant at all. So please, I just want to temper that.
oh no, say own it.
We are going to create the finest cigar lounge in the world that will be here in Frisco, Texas. There's no question. Why? Because we'll have the space to put the amenities in it that we can't do here. There is an interim step in between that we'll take, but we have a clear path of where we'll be from a brick and mortar perspective. We're approached all the time about franchising, things like that. We just don't have the time. We don't have the time to do that. We'll help somebody, we'll talk to them, but I don't have time to go out and site survey and do everybody's work for them.
Well, that and ultimately it's your brand that's on the line
And
too.
that's his baby.
Yeah.
And he protects that like anything. So we've created this concept of the accessories and whatnot that I think will end up being its own pillar that will stand on its own and will create a nice piece of business for us that is going to be complementary of our business, but will also help some selected retailers around the country. So I'm excited about that, but what we're going to deliver, I don't care if you're Davidoff, I don't care who you are, you cannot replicate what we're going to do because we're going to take this larger. So if I can still keep culture, if I can still keep this thing that you guys feel by being here, if that can continue, but more people can experience it at the same time, and we have room for stages for entertainment. We have room to get your hair cut. We have room for things that golf lessons inside. When you can do things like that no other cigar lounge can do, there will be multiple reasons why you don't have to leave.
Yeah.
You can stay longer.
So I love this question. And thank you for giving some insight.
That was it. That was congrats. That was the same
Like,
answer.
don't
That
you
was
say
well
one
done.
more
Yeah. No, I was
Because yeah, but I wouldn't. You know, we're golfers, or I'm a golfer, and the barbershop thing is dope, right? And that's kind of already been done, but like taking it to the next level, which is what you guys do. But I love this question because this is the impetus of what the Vision Lab is all about, right? Now I really want to pull back the curtain, and I'm not interested in the actual details as much as I am the mechanics of what visionaries. And by the way, visionaries, if you're still tuning in, make sure you like and subscribe to our channel. You know, this is a phenomenal show that we're having today, and so hopefully you're getting a lot of value out of this. But I want to pull back the curtain, and I'm not interested in the actual nuances, but more the mechanics of what someone that has a vision on what Dave does, what Brandon does, to actually put it pen to pad and work it out. Like, what does that look like? You know, we know that you work these hours. You've got 2 businesses that you own. You've had your hand in a number of different things, and you're obviously the owner here. But how do you sit and plan? What does that look like?
We operate under one very simple principle. And all the visionaries out there, I hope if there's anything you take from this, it's this. The question is, how do you eat an elephant?
One bite at a time.
And you identify typical businesses run on four-legged stools. You're going to have the marketing, you're going to have marketing and branding, you're going to have product, you're going to have hospitality, you're going to have product mix. There's typically those legs. You basically have to create a vision of what you would like to deliver on each one of those elements. Put the piece together. To just walk in and go, I'm going to do a cigar lounge and it's going to be really nice and I'm going to have nice leather furniture and I'm going to have a bar. That's like saying I'm going to go on vacation. Where? Mm-hmm. How are they going to get there? You're going to fly? You're going to drive? We're going to go to the sunny place? We're going to go to the mountains? Define. And for us, we know if our big thing is we're going to have the best cigar lounge in the world, what does that mean? Break that into pieces.
There we go.
How do we then, if we're going to have a lounge, an element of the lounge, let's talk about how people are going to sit. Are they going to want to sit next to each other in vignettes? Or are they going to want a larger area? What is the right experience? How is that going to flow from the humidor and back out to the humidor? How does the humidor have to flow? Let's think about that. And break that down into little pieces. Once you break it down, you're actually clarifying your vision, because at some point you're going to have to ask somebody for money. They don't want to hear, I'm going to go into this place, I'm going to have a cigar lounge, I'm going to have really nice seating and a bar. I'm not going to write you a check for that. But when you can define, we're going to walk in, here's what you're going to experience. You're going to see this nice humidor. We're going to have a lovely lady here that's going to greet you. She's going to seat you. If you call in advance, I'm going to have a little VIP reserved seating area for you with your favorite drink in place. I'm going to have all of that experience, and that's you taking a visionary virtual tour. Break it down. When you break it down and you have definition of all those components, now when you're talking to the bank or you're talking to an investor, he or she can feel what you feel. But if you just walk in and go, I want this, everybody that's being asked for money today, somebody said, I want to open a chain of ice cream stores. I want to open coffee stores like Starbucks. They all got that, but they have no definition. So define by breaking it down into those pieces and then really put pencil to paper on what those pieces are going to cost, what all's involved in getting it built out, what's all involved in getting it designed the right way, all of those things.
And then, so I'm more on the facilitation, more on the execution. So I have developed, and anyone who's interested, you could put my name in the description, my email in the description. If you're interested in this, I have what I call the BGI, the Business Growth Index. And that is a well-defined, objective spreadsheet that you put every idea in play, and then it allows you to score it. So it's activation, retention, monetization. There are 4 main areas on there, and then it even breaks down into how fun is it, how much time does it take, what is the ease, what is your confidence. It breaks that down. So once you have your list of things you know you need to do, and you may miss some things, but once that's in play, you plug it in and it generates your score. Then all you have to do is sort your scores, and you don't move to number 2 until you're done with number 1. Number 1, prioritization, done, good. Move to 2, move to 3, move to 4. Every month, you refresh that. Boom, move that. Some things will just never get done. That's okay. You don't only have time to do certain things. But I have a nuts and bolts formula and document that anyone who's interested can contact me. I'd be happy to run through that with them and happy to give that to them, because it's very difficult. It was very difficult for me at the beginning to know I have all of these things to do, but what bite do I take first? And I became stagnant and overwhelmed with the tasks. But if you can create an objective sheet of prioritized tasks, all of a sudden you have purpose and vision to that small thing, because there are certain things that will score up. I know we've all had this. You have so much work to get done, and those tasks that are big, you go, I'm gonna get these. I'm gonna get these 4 little tasks done. Get some emails. How's my inbox? How's all the easy stuff?
Get some wins under my belt for the day.
Yeah, right. But then it's 3 o'clock, and you don't have that task you don't have that task that's 5 hours.
It's just looming over you.
Yes, and you feel that heaviness, right?
Yeah.
So prioritization and being an entrepreneur and a visionary to get it done and see it through. Mix those two together. You got a recipe for success.
I absolutely love it. P?
I mean, he's speaking our language. I mean, you know, we're working on stuff, and it's kind of how we got the show started. You guys don't know, this show started here. So
it did.
This show started here.
Facts.
So he and I used to work at the same sales company together for
right
years. And he called me Christmas break of 2018 and said, "Hey, I got an idea. Like, let's just go smoke cigars and chop it up." And we came here because I live 15 minutes from here, and we sat in here one night for a good 3-4 hours. And a book just like this, and poked holes in our own plan and laid things out.
And what happened that day?
Well, that day, once we figured out, okay, here's what we want to do. We're like, okay, well, who can we have on the show? And you guys will love it. Out walks all 6'7", 300+ pounds of Jonathan Scott. And said, hey, come talk to us for a second.
I remember the interview.
Yep.
I remember the interview.
We said, hey, here's what we're thinking about doing. Would you be on the show? And of course, he's like, yeah, to set it up, let's do it. And we came here, and he was the second person we recorded with.
Was he the first interview, but the second episode?
You are correct. First interview, second or third episode, yeah. And we recorded it in this very room. And so, to your point, just step by step, what is like, how are we? What's the goal, right? And then what are the micro steps that we got to take to accomplish it? And as we got done wrapping things up, we were just like, okay, let's work our phones. Who do we know to get on the show? And here he comes. And hey, can you come talk to us for a second? And yeah, I'll do the show, sure. And we're here a couple weeks later, and we knocked it out. It was great. So it's cool to hear that you guys have some of the same planning techniques. It all, when you, what I said, not having a plan is a plan to fail, but having a plan is everything too. And it's cool to see where we are and how this has all come to fruition. It's awesome. It
really is. And you just took me back down memory lane to see the growth, the maturation of the show, of us as podcasters, right? Not knowing what the hell we were doing.
Because even then we took 6 months after that night before we actually released an episode. And I called him one day. I said, "Hey, we've done enough planning." Because it's very yin and yang. Like, he's very analytical, and I'm very much forecaster. Like, give me the cliff notes, and I have no problem, building the parachute on the way down. Like, I'll figure it out. It's kind of my life story. And I called him one day and I said, "Hey, we've done enough planning. We're gonna have a podcast. We actually got to do some podcasting. We got to put the boat in the water."
But I tell you what, it's the Jay Scott interview. If you have not heard it, it is one of the most sage and sound interviews that we had. And if you haven't heard it, because at that time we didn't have video, go back through our catalog and check that out. It's episode 2.
2 or 3.
It's number 2 because it's one of my favorite episodes. Okay. And we recorded it here, and I want to give you guys a shout out because there was never any. It goes back to the experience, right? There was never any huffing and puffing or well, what are you guys gonna do? Like yeah, y'all can come in, do it. You didn't ask for anything. We obviously patronize the business because that's what we do. But it was love, you know what I mean? And that's why I talked about earlier in that we've been wanting to get with you guys for a minute, and shame on me for not having gotten it done. But I'm super happy that it's right here, right now. Like, timing is where it needs to be. You know what I mean? But this has been, for me, I'm on cloud 9. The energy from the time that we walked in, and then obviously we did the walkthrough of ICC, and it's just a lot of love, man. And I love what you guys are doing. I love who you guys are. I love what you're doing for the culture, and I love what you're doing here in DFW. I think it's amazing. So I think it's time to land the plane.
Well, before we do that, we've got an event coming up.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I apologize. Big shout out to Dave and ICC, Brandon. You guys are going to be helping to sponsor the 3rd annual Vision Lab Podcast Golf Classic, which is going to be at the Golf Club of Dallas, June 11th at 8 a.m. shotgun start. And we're going to have some really cool things out there. You've got a son that is really kind of good at golf.
He's
kind of okay.
It's above average. So my son Andrew is actually holds the Guinness World Record for the most 300-yard drives in an hour. He had 448 300-yard drives in an hour. Brandon teed the ball up, and he hit him one every 5.5 seconds. He was on Callaway's long drive team for 5 years, and I personally watch him consistently hit over 450 yards with his competition drivers in competition in the World Championships. At one point, he was in the top 20 in the world in driving distance, but he does a lot of charity events where he'll go to a hole. And your event, which is what intrigues us, is the charities that it's tied to.
Yep.
So we're all about helping from that perspective, the charitable aspect. Well, Andrew used to go out and get paid a lot of money to sit on a hole and hit golf balls for people, and then they could go play from that second shot. Instead of them hitting a 200-yard drive, he's going to hit you a 400-yard drive, and off you go. So we started talking about where the proximity was, and talking to your dad, the proximity of where the hole is at. And we thought, what would be fun for these? I'm sure there's a bunch of young guys like yourselves that are big and strong. You're going to go out there and you're going to smack the ball, and everybody wants to hit a long ways. So we think for charity, the golf courses let us go down from the driving range out into the first fairway, and anybody can use their driver, and Andrew will hit a 6-iron.
Repeat that for people to understand.
Yeah.
I need them to get that. You can hit your driver.
Yep.
Your son Andrew will hit his 6-iron.
He'll hit a 6-iron. And if you hit the drive further than him, your $10 or $20 will go to the charity, and he'll give you a cigar.
That's right.
If you don't get beat, or if you do get beat by him, then you just contributed to the charity.
That's it.
So the charity wins, and somebody can find out if they can go beat one of the longest drivers of the ball in the world. He's just not going to hit his driver. He'll just hit a 6-iron.
That's crazy.
Take it easy on him.
And the two charities that we're donating the funds to are the Leukemia Lymphoma Society, as well as the Alzheimer's Association. And for those that don't know, both of my grandparents passed away from those vicious diseases, and we're just hoping to help create research and funds to eradicate these deadly diseases. I can speak from firsthand experience. Very fortunate that my grandfather, when he passed away from multiple myeloma, that it was relatively quick, right? My grandmother was not as lucky. She suffered stage 4 Alzheimer's, and it's just a very slow eroding disease, and that I wouldn't wish upon my worst enemy.
Yeah,
So, yeah, we definitely want to work together and help these organizations and associations to eliminate these two deadly diseases. So I just want to say thank you.
So we will be out there with cigars.
Yes.
We're creating some really special 5-packs, and it's a 5-pack that you guys will be able to buy for like $40. Keep it real simple, really good cigars. But these 5-packs will be in humidity packs that'll last you and drive the guy you're playing with the rest of the day in the cart. So we'll be there. We'll have some cigars there, and of course the opportunity to try to knock one past the kid.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for that. Before we land the plane, though, we've got some questions that we normally ask to each one of our guests on the show.
So it is you,
Big three.
both of you gentlemen. There's a big round table. Obviously, cigars are there.
Is it 10 people or 5?
10.
Okay.
So each of you get 5 people that you want at your table. The only stipulation that we have is that you can't have whatever religious entity you believe in. Outside of that, dead or alive, who do you want at your table? You get 5 people, and you get 5 people.
Pretty simple for me.
Okay.
Proceed.
Churchill,
Okay.
Michael Jordan,
Good.
Steve Harvey.
Oh, wow. First?
I've already had one with Cedric.
That's the first. He's the first person to say Steve
All right,
Harvey.
hold on. We don't have much.
Oh,
We got cheers on Steve.
he's the first one to say Steve Harvey.
That's it.
Churchill.
See, we usually do 3. So Churchill, Jordan, and these are guys that are known for smoking cigars too.
Yep.
Steve Harvey. I've been able to have one with Cedric, so I can check that one off. But that was a blast.
That's a tough question.
Now, what's this? Dead or alive?
Well, if it's
So they can be dead. Obviously, you got Churchill.
Churchill's room temperature.
That's good.
That's awesome.
You know, I think I would love this. This kind of goes back in the day. These are two comedians that are classics, old school comedians that would be Richard Pryor and Red Fox.
Wow.
Just to hear the stories.
What a table.
Man.
Just to hear the stories.
What a table.
Pryor?
First for Pryor.
First for Pryor?
And
Really?
Red Fox.
And
I don't think he smoked many cigars, but
they smoked something.
he smoked something.
So that's
Boy,
a hell
that's
of a
tough.
table.
What are your guys's?
I will tell you.
We'll tell you.
Okay.
I think some of these
It's always
old
evolving.
actors or comedians would have stories that are just incredible.
Yeah, the stories would be great. I mean, the question for me is like, who do you want to sit and have a cigar with and hop into a deep conversation?
Who do you want to sit with?
Cigars just happen to be there.
They just happen to be there.
I would like to pull one of those guys off and put him on the bench. There's one that just hit me is one that I really have this connection with because we're the same age and same mafia kind of attitude as James Gandolfini.
Ooh.
Sopranos.
That's the first as well.
That to me is
You're going to get
just,
drunk on the show.
Yeah, we should have brought a bottle of shit.
He passed way too early, but I just love the way he carried himself. I would love it. And then I've seen the interviews with military and stuff that he's done after. The dude he was a real man. He was a good guy.
That's a hell of a table. Now, Brandon, your table is with Pops.
We might not even let you have it.
Yeah, no. I think there are certain people that I would love to just sit and connect with. Pops has us stay at the table for moderation. I'd like to sit with Bill Burr. That's a guy that I've always wanted to sit with and just crack up and have a good time with. Keanu Reeves. That's
a first.
I mean, that's a guy that wouldn't do another movie and make millions unless the rest of his team, their salaries were doubled. That's a man of character.
Yeah, and his breakthrough, he was very fortunate to get the Bill and Ted Excellent Adventure because he was basically about to be casted out of Hollywood.
Yeah.
Interesting. With that, I think there are a couple. Jim Carrey would be a gentleman I'd like to sit with.
I know one for you.
What, Gunther Steiner?
No. John Lennon.
That was John Lennon.
So
Lennon would be
Jim Carrey, John Lennon, Bill Burr,
Keanu Reeves, and Pops. That's my five.
That's
All
a
right.
hell of a table too.
All right,
Cheers
so
to that.
he put it back on us, so you got to answer first, Cuff.
All right, can we just go back and forth?
Sure, by
All
all
right,
means.
so you did Jordan, which I mean, who wouldn't, right?
Right.
So I'll just go a notch below and say Kobe. My list is always evolving and changing, but I'll go Kobe right out the gate.
Geronimo.
That's a good one.
And I would like to have him in the sense of like the day he just said, "Screw it, I'm not folding." Like I want to talk to the Geronimo in that mindset where he decided, like, I'm about to raise all kind of hell.
Yep.
Yeah.
So my list is never consistent, by the way. I'm going to say Judas.
Interesting.
Like why?
Yeah. Are you familiar with the book that spoke about Judas actually being the most devout?
I knew about him as that, but I haven't read that book.
It's an interesting take. The most devout disciple.
Yeah.
And what he had to do, and knowing that it had to be done. It's an interesting thought process.
Well, let me get the name of that book because I'll definitely read it for sure. So I go Kobe. I go Judas.
Bomani Jones.
Okay. Kevin Hart.
Yeah, there you go.
Kevin Hart. Love Kevin Hart. She's got to have comedy, and you were big on comedy. Yeah, that's good.
Byron Allen, the guy who owns the Weather Channel.
Yeah, that's good. He's good. Right now, just off the energy, Maya Angelou.
Jay Prince. I want to get him on the show.
You do.
We're gonna make that happen.
Yeah, we will.
I would love to sit and just have a conversation with him.
So you got in my brain there. I would say Tom Bilyeu, who really was the inspiration for me to create this. Right. This is a growth mindset podcast, and I read a book about David Goggins, Can't Hurt Me. Fantastic book, and that was what we talked about probably for the first 3 or 4 episodes of the show because it was I just finished the book. But he was on the Tom Bilyeu Impact Theory podcast, right, that he does. And that really was the beginning of what I envisioned and how the Vision Lab podcast came to be before I called Mo and we got it going. So Tom Bilyeu for sure.
So who are you for right now? We're on 4. Who are you for right now?
Oh, God.
Maya Angelou, Tom Bilyeu.
Kobe, Maya Angelou, Judas, Tom Bilyeu.
So I got 3: Geronimo, Jay Prince, Bomani Jones. My grandmother.
Oh, I was
Family ties.
I was actually going to say that too. I would say Doe. That's my grandmother. And the matriarch, like, there's just so much that I miss her. I miss her tremendously. And the reason why we're doing the charity event, right, is because of her, and no discredit or hate on my grandfather because he died of multiple myeloma, but it's your grandma.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? It's your grandma. So that's Doe. I miss you, Doe.
Last one, right? So let's see. Who's this front of mind at the moment? Jay Prince, Bomani Jones, my grandmother, and Geronimo. Aaron Donald for right now.
Yeah. True champ.
Yeah.
Aaron Donald.
How did no one say Elon Musk?
He's hot right now.
Yeah.
He's hot right
That's
now.
fun of mine.
So we do 2 shows every week. We do a show called Saturday at the Shop, which you guys, it's just
I've seen it.
foolishness.
I loved
Yes.
your dancing too, by the way, a couple of weeks ago.
That's called the Sats Walk, which actually leads into the deal. Saturday at the Shop is Sats. But then on Tuesday night, we actually started a group on Facebook called Cigar Newbies so that people could ask us as professionals in this business any question they have about cigars. We'll answer it without them being trolled by people calling them idiots and everything else. So
Safe space, like what you were saying.
it's a safe space. So Cigar Newbies created this need for a Tuesday night Cigar 101. The Cigar 101 has morphed into Cigar Talk Live, and it's me, Brandon, Adrian, and then we pull somebody out of the lounge. Hey, come on in, you're going to be on the show.
Yeah.
So
And they don't know this going
They have
in.
no idea.
That's awesome.
they have no clue.
It's like our walkthrough today with the yeah.
Exactly. So we plunk them in the seat, and conversations get pretty deep. But we're basically, our theory is, let's let the cameras run and people can eavesdrop on 4 guys in a cigar lounge.
That's it.
Just do their thing. So there is no script. There's no pre-thought out anything until we get to the end. And we use these 3 questions to completely size up the character of the man that you are.
Oh, wow.
So they're extremely serious.
You got your
So
competition face
You might
on
want
right now.
to break out the sweat a little bit. But we ask the big 3.
Yep.
So I'm going to go ahead and throw question.
Yeah, I
one
think
at
that's
you.
good link.
Sasquatch, does he exist or not?
No.
Scale of 1 to 10.
No. 0.
0.
0. You don't believe any of the
Not
pictures,
at all.
the video?
Not at all.
None of that stuff.
I've never thought about that in my life before. Is it okay to answer I don't care because I don't live in the mountains? I don't live near a wooded area, so I'm not worried about that.
That's a first. That's a first. I think we drink that.
I'm gonna say
Man,
0.
I should have brought some.
Go grab some.
Oh, sorry.
2 zeros. Hard 0.
Yeah, you guys would get along with Adrian.
Yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
Adrian's like a
You know, if
negative
I
1.
Adrian runs Cigars and Guns, which is a very successful social media platform, and he won't believe it until he shoots it. So that's where he's at.
Hence
Well,
cigars
but here's the
and
thing. I'm too pragmatic in my approach, right? And so Sasquatch has been around for how long?
It's a good question. It's a good question.
At least, what, 70, 80, 90 years?
Well, I think every culture has some iteration over time.
Yeah.
Americans do. So that's obviously
It's folklore.
But no one's there.
It's
right?
folklore.
Yeah. It's the great boogeyman.
Yeah.
It's a great natural boogeyman.
That's why I have to go 0. So
Yep.
like the pragmatic side of my brain says, okay, well, maybe he did exist at one point, right? Maybe it was the first kind of 6'10" type person that was burly and had hair on his back.
Part of that.
The mystique, right?
Yeah, part of starts with the chimpanzee and this evolution to man. Maybe there was one right before that.
Could be.
Who knows?
Yeah.
It's funny as you ask that though. Like I don't care about Sasquatch. Like if I lived in the mountains of Colorado, or Montana or something like that, yeah, I'd be worried about if Sasquatch existed. But I actually do think there probably is a Loch Ness monster as you ask that question.
But if you talk about iterations, right, that would mean that he would have to reproduce, right? Mm-hmm. So that would mean that there had to be more than one Sasquatch.
Right.
So now there's 2, and now you reproduced. You had, Sasquatch children, and those Sasquatch children
I've seen Delirious. I know how it works.
So,
Exactly. So our questions are relatively quick. So I know
No, they're gonna ask real questions. We didn't ask real questions.
What's number 2?
No, just
I want number 2. I want to,
just give them 2 of 3. Give them 2 of 3.
Right. UFOs, do they exist or not? 1 to 10.
Not yet.
The real question is there other life forms out there? That's the real question.
That is the question. Now your question is aliens on planet Earth. Have they visited?
Oh no!
Are they here?
They are here, and most of them are redheads. It's documented fact.
I like redheads.
Have you ever met a redheaded woman that's not crazy?
Facts.
So most of them are artists. And they're the only people with a certain hair color that have their own goddamn convention. So, and I know that they're plot machines.
Yeah, they're up to something.
So, you do the math. I mean, it all comes out.
I think I'm more akin to think that there could be something out there. I give it a 2 to 3, somewhere in there.
That's still.
It's a flip of a coin.
Yeah, no.
If you put a gun to my head, are there other forms of life out there? There's a chance. I mean, we've evolved as humans. Technology is ridiculous, and it's going to keep getting ridiculous.
But think about this. The sun is what? How many billions of years? Light years away. So, I mean, whatever happened X billion of years before is just now hitting us. So the evolution in that, I mean.
Well, that's if you just think about the math. There are about between 200 and 400 billion planets in our galaxy. And
how many?
200 to 400 billion planets
with the B
in our galaxy. And there's, based on the Hubble telescope, they think if telescope technology improves, it'll identify 200 billion galaxies. But right now they feel that there's 100 billion galaxies. And in our galaxy, there's 200 to 400 billion planets.
That's mind blowing.
The odds of being the only one that's got shit on it, man, that's tough to believe.
That's mind blowing.
Yeah, they say even just in our galaxy, there are more stars than there are grains of sand on the planet.
Good Lord.
Whew. Yeah. Who knows? Who knows? It's good. It's good pondering.
Yeah. I want you to double take when you see the next redhead. You'll see it.
All right. I don't want to go too far into that, but redheads have always held a special place in my heart. I'll just leave it at that.
There we go. All right, back to real questions.
Those are real questions. We like it. We like to lighten it up.
You're going to give them 3?
Yeah, give
us we want the whole experience. Go ahead.
You want 3?
Go with 3.
3, not 4. 3. Okay. 4 would make sense. 4 would make sense for this. So we're going to throw in an alternate here. Because it goes almost to the same element of who do you want sitting at your table. Okay. Right? It's who you are as a person. What is your spirit animal?
Oh, yeah. I'll go.
When I was asked the first time, I had to think about animals. I was like, how many animals do I know off of?
Yeah. So, what I would want it to be would be a lion, but I would be more a white tiger. Unique, bold, fierce, regal. I've had this question asked before, and that's kind of what I envision myself, and hopefully that's what I portray, right? Meticulous in terms of like my hunt. You don't just like, if you know about white tigers, they don't just go out and hunt like and just jump on something, right? Like they're very meticulous about what they go after.
I like that.
Mo,
Gave you some time, Mo.
this shit's gonna be deep. I can just tell you.
No, the bear. Just because he's capable of
Which
what?
kind of bear? Which kind of bear? There's a lot of bears. Polar bear, black
no
bear.
damn polar bear. Hell no.
Well,
No.
Vicious.
Are you gonna be a black bear?
He's got a little bit of grizzly.
You're a grizzly
Yeah,
bear.
sure. Call it a grizzly.
Okay.
But I say a bear just because they're capable of so much more than you think about when you just first see them. When you see a grizzly bear, you don't think of a vicious, gigantic animal that at the same time is nimble enough to climb a tree and navigate himself, on branches that shouldn't be able to support his weight, but somehow he's able to do it.
Underrated.
Yeah,
That's what I hear. It's underrated.
sure. You have whatever term you want to put it, but yeah, a bear.
All
It's
right.
capable of so much more than you think.
Do you want to tell
My
them what
wife,
yours is?
my wife would say I'm a peacock, though.
I'm
You're
sitting,
strutting in the house.
I'm sitting there thinking about
I'm
it.
always
though.
strutting.
I'm thinking about it because I'll walk into meeting rooms and I've seen it happen in front of my face, right? Like people they start asking questions, and it's like, wait a minute, like how are you involved in this? And they're just shocked, like, wait a second, I've got 30 years of experience doing this, and all of a sudden, I don't know you from Adam, but clearly you deserve our attention. So it's being capable of things that people can't even wrap their brains around. Like, wait a minute, this dude's capable of so much more than we thought when he first walked in the room.
So, like, to me, I don't know why, but I get this picture of a praying mantis. Like, you could do a lot more than you think, or a Venus flytrap.
No, because I'm not stationary. I'm always moving. Always moving.
All right, there you go.
Mine is a bald eagle. Get up above it all, fly the horizon line, pay attention to everything that's going on down below. I always said I want the view of an eagle, not a chicken.
Oh, that's good. It's really
So-
good.
And yours
Mine was
nominated.
given. Yeah, it's a stag. A stag. And a stag.
Sounds like a horse.
It's an elevated deer.
Yep. And a stag has this massive rack that I think it's appropriate. If I were to, someone that I want to be is, if I walk into the room, I'm not a predator, but I can defend myself.
That's good.
I am pragmatic, but have the respect of the people because I've earned it. I've lived it. In order to get to the point of a stag, I've earned my prongs. I have something that's there that hunters may not pull the trigger on because they know maybe there's something more to that. But I'm also not going to sit around stagnant. I want to be known as, when I walk into a room and greet people, that I'm there for them. And they feel a genuine respect. And there's almost this mystique that goes around it. And I think I've adopted that ever since it's been given. I like that. And they have a cool sounding call too.
Yeah, that reminds me of like a moose, right? Like moose, and I'm really big into like National Geographic and Discovery Channel. And so I'm huge into, what's the name of the show? Life Below Zero.
Yeah.
So they always are trying to hunt moose, but they're so, first of all, they're big and they walk into whatever, area it is, but all of a sudden they can be gone just like that. And I don't know, like when you said stag, I'm not saying you're not a stag. I'm just saying like, I think of moose.
Yeah. Yeah, and I ninja my way out of rooms too.
There you go.
If I'm here and all of a sudden I'm gone, I left on purpose.
Yeah. So our number 4.
You're asking 4 to their 1?
Well, I mean, theirs is going to be intelligent, well thought.
Oh, okay. So you want to
We
keep
can
up?
end the show on that because ours is just stupid.
Yeah. Ours is usually a full bottle deep.
This is almost a two-parter. Ghosts. Do they exist from an apparition standpoint, 1 to 10? And spirits. And if you had an experience, explain.
Yes and yes.
Oh.
Yes and yes.
Yes and yes. Any experience?
I don't know about quote unquote ghost, but in my life's journey and some of the ups and downs that I've been through, like I've definitely had like a couple mornings where you just hear a random voice and it's just like, wait a minute, like hold on a second.
Is that spirit or ghost? What are you talking about?
That would probably be spirit.
It was a spirit.
Okay.
It was a
I just
spirit.
wanted to clarify.
But yeah, yes and yes on both.
Okay.
No and yes. Ghosts do not exist.
apparition,
No,
spirits.
ghosts don't
I'm with
exist.
you.
Spirits do exist. I had a real life experience. So I think it was 3 years at this point. I gotten really involved into meditation. I'm not going to name the meditation institute that I went to, but it's here in Dallas. And I go in, and my mom, first and foremost, let me back up. My mom is a praying mom, right? We're believers. She's always prayed for me. She understands the spiritual realm. I went to this institute, and institute sounds like a big word. It's just a brick and mortar.
Yeah.
But I go there and I'm touring the facility, and they say, hey, you get a free, meditation session. So I go in and meditate. They talk to me and they say, here's how you meditate, blase, blase. I go home and I was like, okay, one of the things they taught you is just be in a very quiet, kind of dark place. Not dark, but like, where you're secluded from any other type of distractions. So I went to my upstairs closet where I knew there was zero chance of any interaction or distraction. And I just lay there and I'm doing my deep breathing and I'm going and like literally 5-10 minutes of this, and I bullshit you not, I started to feel this pressure. And for those that are still watching on YouTube, kind of watch me here. It was like hands, not just like two hands, but like multiple hands were coming across my chest, my face, and they weren't trying to strangle me. The thing was, they went around my throat, and I could literally feel fingers going around my throat, and slowly, almost to where they didn't want me to panic or to jump or get out of the trance that I was in, but just enough to like kind of trick me. And they were tightening and tightening and tightening and getting tighter and tighter and tighter. And I could feel like me losing, but at the same time they were pulling. I'm a big dude, like I'm 225, trying to get down to 200, but they were pulling me down like to hell. Like they were literally pulling me, but it was so gradual and gentle because I feel like if they knew that it was abrupt or I would fight back. So it was just like they were trying to comfort me, and I'm just breathing deep. And I remember I had set a timer on my phone for whatever the time was, like 10 minutes, 15, 20, whatever it was. I had the timer off, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do this for whatever that time period was. And they were pulling me down. Like I was sinking, and they got around my throat, and I was just like, okay, just fight through it. Cause I play D1 football, yada, yada, yada. I'm going to push through it. I'm going to fight through it. I want the experience. And that is who I am, right? Like I'm adventurous. And so I feel like right at that moment, like, I was about to be taken under, and I don't know what under means, but like pulled under, and I said, I can't do it, and I jumped out of it, and I physically, have you ever had those dreams where like you feel like you can't move, and you're just trying to do something? Like that's what it was. And I said, screw it, I'm done. And I broke out of the chains, right? And there was 5 seconds left on my timer. Bullshit you not. Like, that is the most real spiritual thing that I've ever experienced. I've heard from God. I've talked to God, that type of thing. But this was almost demonic. So yes, I do believe in spirits. I do believe that they certainly exist, and that was my experience.
We've got some people that we didn't think it was going to come in, with believing, and not only did they believe, but they had experiences. And Busy, when he tells his story, you can see goosebumps actually raise up on his arm when he's telling the story.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some stuff that happened to some people.
So I'll pull the curtain back for me personally. I've been a believer for a long time, and that's great, right? All glory to God. I did not know of the spiritual warfare that exists. People believe it, don't believe it, that's your prerogative, whatever. Not here to change that. That's not what this is about. But in that moment, you got to be very careful of the behaviors that you're exhibiting. Did I tell you this story?
Yeah, I remember we talked about it one night, so I knew where you were going.
Yeah, like I'm never gonna bullshit you. I'm not gonna lie. I don't have to pontificate or like, I don't give a shit. Like it is what it is. Like that happened to me, and I'm telling you, 100% that was the real fucking thing. And I was in that closet, man, and I was just like, look, I am way outside of my depths. Like I'm a believer and I'm a Christian and all that good stuff, but I don't study to that degree to understand the spiritual warfare that exists. And when that happened, the only person I could think of to call, and not like from a safety perspective, but just more from like an intelligence and knowledge perspective, was my mom. And I was like, look, what did I just go through? She's like, look, that's real. Like, you need to understand, you need to be careful. So I had signed up for a membership with this particular meditation group. And she's like, you need to cancel that. Something is going on over there. I don't know what it is. It's not like a shot at them.
Right.
It could be someone that brought that in there, that spirit. Yeah, it's that,
Just
like
where
that
you
shit
needed
is
to be.
that shit is real. And I don't know, like that's the only time it's happened in my life. And I'm 40. That was about 2 years ago.
2-3 years ago.
So about 38 years older, 38, 37, 39, somewhere in there. But that shit was real, man. And it freaked me the hell out.
We had one just recently that these guys, there was a bunch of young guys that hung out together, teenagers. One of them that hung out with them got killed. And they always walked this same path in their neighborhood. They always walked this same path. And after his friend their friend had passed, as they walked down the street, so just imagine like you're walking down the street at home. As they walked down the street lights were out. But as they walked down the street, when they walked under each street light, it turned on. And they walked to the next one, and it turned on. And they walked to the next one, and it turned on. And it was the path that him and their friend that had passed always went down that street. That's what they did. So there's been some pretty crazy things that have happened.
The spiritual world exists. I don't shy away from that. I believe in that. I'm not well versed or knowledgeable about it, but I do know that it exists. And that particular moment, an experience that I had, solidified it. It was done.
I've got an experience like that too.
Yeah.
If it's okay for me to share.
Yeah.
But the spiritual world, my wife's father passed before I met him, before I met my wife, by a few years. And it was always weird because I pray every night, but whether it's sacrilege or not, I always just pray. When I pray for thanks. So I always just pray to Pancho. I just say thank you for life because he put us together and all of these things happen. I get to live the dream because of it. So I always say thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, I bought the ring, asked her mom, quick. And
I wasn't going to do anything until her dad gave me permission. And I would always ask him, please give me a sign when it's okay.
So you're waiting for him to spiritually talk to you.
Something.
Okay.
Because he had done this one time before. I had met him in a dream once. And we have had a lot of this. But I'm a pretty pragmatic guy. And it comes to the point where it's asking every day, asking. 6 months, 8 months, 9 months, 10 months. And then I just decided I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And our house was getting built, so we lived at their house. And I told my mom, I said, hey, get the champagne ready tomorrow. I'm going to do it. Go to bed, and we wake up, and Ali rolls over. Oh, his name's Ali. She says, you wouldn't believe this. I just had the coolest dream. We were in my house, and you were in my room. And my dad never let anyone in the room. And I was in my parents' room. My dad was putting a tux on because he was going to something. And he was getting me fixed up, but he was getting his tux all ready because he had some big event he had to go to. And he just told me, it's okay. And that was the first thing I heard that next morning. And I knew for about 4 hours before that, I'm going to ask her to marry me. And that morning, she rolled over, and the first thing she told me was that dream. He was getting ready for a wedding.
It's very real. I mean, you think about, like, when people pass away, people always say, like, oh man, this person had a great spirit about him and things like that. Like, it's very, very real. And like you say, if you don't believe it, hey, whatever, that's your deal, but it is what it is. And people say it all the time. So
it's interesting. It's interesting. So I'm with you. I'm a no and a yes.
Yeah. I don't like Ghost isn't gonna just move the ashtray. Like, if you had that experience, cool, whatever. But I had to see it to believe it. But but as far as the spirit, because we are all spirits. Like, anyways, so I do think that the spirits can still be here, right? Mm-hmm. And I also think those spirits may be trapped too. But that's a whole different conversation for another day. Mm-hmm. This has been absolutely amazing. I want to say thank you for being on the show. Before we finalize everything, I always ask, and Mo kind of touched on this a little bit. I typically ask, what's the long-term vision? You guys have already answered that. But what I want to ask is, if you were a cigar, what's your binder, wrapper, filler, Dave? And then Brandon, you're next.
That's very interesting.
Now you all have your cigars. Like we smoked you. We smoked you basically.
We smoked me. I've never been to Peru, but there's some Peruvian in there that lightens it up a little bit. But God, I would be definitely an Ecuadorian Connecticut wrapper.
Wow.
Smooth, creamy,
okay.
Blonde. When I had hair, it was blonde. I mean, I'd be a really high-end Ecuadorian Connecticut. I think under that, I'd want to throw a Mexican San Andreas, Maduro, little lower priming binder, so that I'm laying just creaminess on top of this spiciness, this strength, and then I would.
It's like a queso.
I would mix up a little bit of Peruvian, Dominican, and maybe a little bit of Nicaraguan tobacco. Maybe up north, Condega, some of those areas,
amen.
And I would just have a lot of harmony, because I think that there's something in life in just accepting everything and not hating anything. Yeah. So I think having a little bit of everything in there is a mix. Inside of me is everything from growing up poor to living in Frisco, Texas, and everything that happened in between. So mix it up a little bit. I'd put multiple countries of origin inside there. Size-wise, ideally, you'll notice this cigar really identified me. It was small at the top. At one point, I was skinny, and then I got fat. So that's kind of where I would live.
You're not fat.
I'm going EC. I'm going to go in Ecuadorian Connecticut, just from the aesthetics and the profile. Underneath there, I would probably put a little bit of Dominican Piloto Cubano. Got a little bit of flavor, a little bit of intensity on there. Inside, I would put Condega or Jalapa from Nicaragua for a little sweetness, something that keeps you coming back. Touch of Andullo tobacco. Andullo's got that intensity, full out intensity, but just a touch, like a little bit of salt. And I would go with you. That Peruvian Pelo de Oro that has like this beautiful high ring to it, a low note. I think we would create something that's balanced, very bright, very fresh, very elegant. That's what I would go for. What do you guys think?
So I'm very curious because when we started the show, we talked about the Pan Am Porsche.
Yeah, Porsche 928.
Yeah, 928. Like, that's not what you just described. So why don't you make what you just described your cigar?
Because on paper, it's completely different. On paper, you can create your blend, but you don't know what's actually going to work together. And so I want to create my experience. On paper, there's a certain thing I'd want to do, but in the reality, if the experience introduces some Habano out of Mexico, perfect, let's put that in. So it's a little bit of... where the tires meet the road.
So I'm gonna challenge you because obviously this is video, right? So when you watch this, you can actually recap what you just said, put it on paper, put that to match your cigar that you're already currently blending. I'm curious which one would actually take.
I'll do that, and I'll have testers for you.
Yeah, test it and let's smoke it together. Smoke it
Hell
together.
yeah.
We're working on a blend with Luciano, who is. He is like my Yoda in the tobacco business. He did a cigar for us. He used tobacco from Kazakhstan, all kinds of weird places. But the one that we fell in love with, the binder is actually Cuban. So he used an Ecuadorian or a Connecticut broadleaf, so it's darker. He laid it on top of this Cuban, and then put some. A little bit of Peruvian and
Brazilian
stuff in it, some Brazilian tobacco, Kazakhstan tobacco. When you take that full body, this kind of goes where you said your wife is Cuban. You take something that's got a little bit of boldness, and then you lay it on top of that Cuban, and then everything just kind of mellows out.
Yeah, well, that's not what she is.
Okay, yeah.
Shout out to
You're
Heather.
like put a little habanero in it.
Yeah, I mean,
Make this thing
listen.
spicy.
Shout out to Heather, but yeah, she's. The undercurrent of her is the spiciness. The binder for her would be a lot more. I don't know. You got to get to the center with Heather, with my wife, and then when you get that, and if you're lucky enough to crack the code, it's only a select few. But those select few are going to really see that Cuban-esque feel and vibe and energy. So,
That would be, from a cigar nerd perspective, that would be a high priming Estelí Ligero.
Yeah.
That's
It's you start smoking it, right? And it's okay. And then all of a sudden you're like, whoa. That's you have to have the privilege to get, to that depth.
Yeah.
That's my wife. So I had to get one of those sticks.
Yeah.
If you have them here, we'll definitely get that. For me, I don't know. I know regions. I'm not a aficionado to that degree. I love the conversation, and I want to say thank you for the conversation.
Oh,
Thank you.
Right? I want to say thank you for the experience because I've always been a fan of ICC, but this just like ratchets up the notch even more, right? To know the story behind, when we look at these bolts and it's always facing north, to know that it's about family, to know that it's about, attention to detail, that makes me fall in love with ICC even more. I for one, I feel, blessed and fully enriched. I'm on this high right now with you guys. But before we land the plane, I ask every single one of our guests that jump into the lab, and in case you guys didn't know, we have a magical time machine.
Okay, good.
Okay, in the lab. What advice would Dave Frakes be giving himself from 5 years ago?
From 5 years ago.
You today are looking back at yourself 5 years ago. What would you tell him?
Your version of yourself today.
Well, for me, it's real simple. It is two things. Embrace being a grandfather, because Leslie is 5 years old now. Embrace that, which I spoil her rotten. That's part of embracing it. And be 100% committed to the vision of ICC, because on September 11th of this year will be our 5-year anniversary. So,
what balls you had to open that up on 9/11, 2017?
people ain't gonna forget.
Yeah.
People won't forget.
So that's typically the easy question. So Brandon, you followed up. What today's version of Brandon Frakes, what advice would you be telling yourself from 5 years ago?
I just tell myself to get ready.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's really good,
I'd
actually.
just say, get ready to be comfortable sprinting 100% of the time. Sprint. Don't jog, sprint. Keep breathing, sprint. Wake up, sprint. That's it. That's it. If you can get comfortable sprinting, everyone's going to start. They're going to jog around you. Go.
They'll fall off.
They'll go.
Yeah, people. What we found with a lot of shops in town, we would start doing certain things, and then we would see them start to do some of the video posts and things like that. But it's kind of like if you've ever had to run a track meet with somebody that's really fast, and you're going and going, and it just kind of go ahead. That's what's happened. A lot of these guys, they got in and went, man, do this all the time, man.
It happened today.
It's an 800-meter race.
It is.
Or a 400 hurdle.
Yeah. It's a sprint.
Hardest races in the track.
But the same thing happened. That mountain biking today. There's a kid that came out that he was all ready to go and ready to rock. This is where I feel that come in too. That's where I feel our day-to-day come in. Is he's talking and he's like, kind of talking shit. And I was like, okay, let's go. Let's go. I could feel him on the tail, and then I could feel it, then I could feel it, then I could feel it. But there was no better satisfaction than getting to that point of like, oh, I got to wait for you. I got to wait 2 minutes for you. Hop back on, try to, and it's just like that feeling to me. There's such satisfaction of just good luck. Yeah. Follow my line. And if we can lay down the line, but continuously be the wake makers, hop in here and we're all going to be good. But I'm going to tell you what, I'll take the brunt of the waves.
You're the rabbit. So that's the easy part. I'm gonna give you a pass. Oh, not a pass, but I'm gonna let you think about it. So we'll reverse it. Brandon, what is the older version of yourself? So you're 5 years older.
Easy.
Okay. What advice are you telling yourself today?
Find balance. Right now, if I don't work an extra minute of the week, which never occurs, I'm comfortably over 60 hours a week. And that also balances 2 young businesses that are growing, but importantly, 3 kids 5 and under, and a wife. All of those things. I'm not living the recipe of success right now. In 5 years, if this doesn't change, my life looks worse than it does today. I know that now. I know it right now, but I'm also in that point of, I gotta make it happen now. So that way, 5 years from now, I'm gonna go, it was worth it. I'm glad you did that. I'm glad you put it in, because either things worked or they didn't, but you put in full 100% commitment, and you surrounded yourself with the right people. You fired the right friends or the wrong friends. You didn't cloud your judgment. You didn't cloud your system. And now you're at a point of balance. So I can coach my kids, so I can be at home with my wife, so we as a company can be to the position where we want to be. But right now, it's grind time. And in 5 years, I'm going to go, you're glad you did it, but if you don't have balance now, figure it out now. That would be my approach.
All right, Dave, we made you a little bit older. You lost a little bit more hair.
Yeah. I've only 8 left.
So what advice is the older version of Dave Frakes? What advice is he giving you today? He's looking back at you in present time. What advice is he telling you?
I think on paper, 5 years from now, I'm supposed to retire, which that's not going to happen. What advice that I give? I think balance is a great thing. I have a different kind of balance, making sure that my grandkids get as much quality time as they can with me, which is going to require me to step out of the shop, step out of my office, and make sure that we're doing things together. And that's something that my dad did with them. He kind of hopped over me and my athletics, but never missed their practice. So as they get older, the next 5 years, I think the advice I would give is make sure you're at every practice.
You got 3 sons?
3 sons, yeah.
All right. I'm going to do something I've never done on the show. P, can I have creative license to do this?
By all means, sir. Go ahead.
Visionary.
Pick a favorite?
Nope.
Oh,
Well, that's an easy one.
that's easy.
I want you to look at your son,
Yep.
and I want you to tell him how you feel about him joining ICC or being a part of ICC and how much it means to you.
How long does the sentence have to be? Because it's pretty short.
Don't you?
Utter pride.
It's important for fathers to communicate to their sons exactly how they feel, because we as sons look to our fathers first, right? We look to our fathers first to know that we're good enough. And you're fortunate enough, Brandon, and your brothers to work with your dad. And a lot of parents don't take the time or don't realize that the time that we have with our sons is valuable, and we don't tell them how proud we are of them and that you are enough.
Pride's a powerful drug.
Yeah.
I suggest every father get addicted to it.
So, but Brandon and your other 2 sons need to hear, like you have what it takes. I'm proud of you. Thank you. All
Thank
of
you.
those things.
You're an asshole for asking.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Jesus Christ.
No, it's important, man.
I still tell him I love him, and I still kiss him on the lips.
Yeah.
That's the way it's going to be.
Yeah. Well, I want to say thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Sorry for making you cry.
No, thank you. Thank you.
That's what it's about, man. We want to beyond peeling back the curtain. We want to tap into the emotional aspect of this, right? You guys have an fucking amazing setup here. I'm tremendously proud of you for what you're doing for the DFW community.
We appreciate that it's noticed.
Yeah.
We do all this stuff. We were going to do it if nobody showed up. It just, the fact is it gives us great pride when you see the result of the effort.
And
But it looked effortless, I hope.
It does, but to do it with your family and then to double down and do it with your sons, and obviously we're both men. Mo lost his father
3 years. It'll be 3 in September.
3 years ago, almost. I'm fortunate enough to have my dad, and I look at this dynamic, right? It's a big fucking deal, man.
Yeah,
big deal.
There's fucking a lot of craziness that's going on in the world, and you got your old man here.
Yep.
And you got your son here. Like that's big. So sorry to get a little somber.
That's all right.
No, hey, it's nothing but blessings.
Yeah.
You know?
We're talking about the single best job on the planet is being a dad.
That's it. That's it. So to all of our visionaries, thank you so much for tuning in. This has been You know what? We wanted to go a little bit longer today because there's a lot to unpack and unfold and look at. And so I hope and pray that each and every one of you are able to pull those nuggets of wisdom from these two gentlemen out today, and that you're able to apply those to your life. Remember, if you're not using it, it's on you. They dropped a lot of gems, a lot of nuggets. Mo?
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ryan Mosley. He is Ryan Cuffey. Thank you to Brandon and Dave Frakes of Industrial Cigar Company here in Frisco, Texas. The address is 9500 Dallas Parkway, Suite 400 in Frisco, Texas. We will see you guys next week on another great episode of the Vision Lab podcast.
Blessings.